r/AskReddit, who's the worst main character we're supposed to sympathize with? Hannah Baker from 13 Reasons Why. Commits suicide and becomes romanticized by the school and everyone around her, gets a cute boy to become obsessed with her and view her as the one who got away, and gets revenge on all her bullies. It's everything you don't want to tell or show a person struggling with suicidal thoughts. This is the thread where I learn how out of touch with popular culture I am. Jerry from Tom and Jerry. Now, nothing in the Tom is really consistent and a lot of their dynamic depends on whichever studio did the episode. But I remember a lot of times when Tom wasn't really trying to seriously hunt/hurt Jerry, he was usually toying with him like cats do, or if he'd cross the line, he would immediately feel bad about it and then save Jerry himself. Meanwhile Jerry, the little fuck we're supposed to root for, uses that to his advantage to lure Tom into situations that genuinely would have killed him if not for cartoon immortality. Caillou. Chris Pratt in the movie Passengers. Out of pure selfishness, the dude decides to ruin the bright future of a girl so that she has no other option than to live with him. She'll never accomplish the great projects she had, she'll never see any of her loved ones, she'll never be able to even talk to another human being, she will live in prison for the rest of her days. While the movie hints at the fact that he's a selfish asshole, it's largely overbalanced by the idea that a man's gotta do what he's gotta do to pursue his own happiness. In the end, her Stockholm Syndrome is presented as a happily ever after ending. That dude from The Notebook. If you don't go on a date with me, I'll kill myself. Emily from Emily in Paris. Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy. Dude's son straight up got kidnapped and his wife got injured to the point she couldn't perform surgeries because his stepdad put a hit out on her, and it still wasn't enough for him to leave his dumb motorcycle club. His wife begged him to leave for their safety and he wouldn't. She tried to leave on her own with her children and he stopped her. Then she ends up getting murdered by his psycho mom. Dude was a straight up POS. /r/grandpajoe hate. Edit. Crap, this is my most upvoted comment now. But it's so mediocre. Piper from Orange is the New Black. Ross and Rachel. They really do deserve each other. That bald-headed little bastard from a kids show who acts like a spoiled shit. Caillou did not want to go to the park today. Like all days, Caillou was being passive-aggressive. Carrie Bradshaw. Emily from Emily in Paris. She fucks up and barely suffers the consequences. Sleeping with a friend's partners and still remains friends with both of them openly. Screws up business opportunities, nothing besides a slap on the wrists, and somehow, it's magically resolved. And her whole I am a dumb American, Bon Apple Tea. And she dresses like if Harry Styles was color blind. Evan Hansen, he's a legit monster. The most recent Velma. Narcissistic, mean, and stuck up with no intention of growing as a person. I would have said Nate from Ted Lasso, but the show caught my vibe and turned him into the antagonist. I hope he doesn't get a redemption arc. Tori Vega from Victorious. She kissed Beck in front of everyone just to get back at Jade, and she kissed Kat's boyfriend because she was jealous. And she didn't seem to care that her prom prevented Jade from doing her performance. Rory Gilmore whiny, narcissistic, cheated on multiple boyfriends. Sheldon Cooper. Ted Mosby. Kate Yeager from the newer Transformers movies. Was Sam a good main character? No. Not at all. But damn, Kate is horrible. In his first, let's say, 10 minutes on screen we learn that he doesn't pay for his house, his electricity, he doesn't pay his employee, he is a shit inventor, overly protective of his daughter and all around an ass. And he only gets worse. Debbie Gallagher from Shameless. Truly a horribly selfish, self-centered, and all-around horrible person. All the nerds from Revenge of the Nerds. Dawson Leary from Dawson's Creek. Abe Lincoln from Clone High. It's kind of an obscure one-season wonder from 20 years ago that not enough people cared about, but I feel a few fans will be here and agree with me. That stupid Will Smith fish in Shark Tales. The kids from the Trick cereal commercials. All the rabbit wants to do is eat some cereal, but the kids won't let him just because he's a rabbit. Racist pricks. Sierra Burgess. She was a dick. Darth Vader. He slaughters millions of people and then chooses to not kill his son, and suddenly that's okay and he was a good guy and gets to Jedi heaven. That's pretty bad. Peppa MFing Pig. Little brat. Both from the Kingkiller Chronicle is a good one, but I think the entire point of that series is that the story is about the downfall of a hero and it's supposed to all come crashing down after he gets too deep into his hubris. Not that we're ever going to find out or anything. Tom Cruise in Risky Business. There's a setup in the beginning. He's in some business class where they're supposed to come up with some business idea. Then his parents go away for the weekend. Cue that famous scene. Tom Cruise, the protagonist and high school student, orders a prostitute. The prostitute turns out to be a man. But that prostitute gives him another number to call and he finally gets a girl, and they bang. Something happens where Cruise now needs money. He and the prostitute he's befriended decide to start a brothel in his parents' house. A brothel that caters exclusively to Cruise's high school friends. They make the money they need and then some. Parents come home none the wiser. We end with Tom Cruise back in the business class failing the assignment because he was busy doing the whole child brothel thing, but ends with a voiceover where he's proudly saying how much money he actually made. Turns out he actually was a businessman. Mark from Rent. I love Rent, but as I get older the more ridiculous it gets. Mark is a rich kid who has parents that love him, but he runs off to cosplay as someone who is poor to make films, which is really just him pointing his camera at poor people all day. He doesn't think he should have to pay rent to Benny because they were friends and he let them stay for free for a long time and he thinks that should just last forever. Then he finally gets a job but quits because it was selling out. Ugh. Ted from How I Met Your Mother. He's like Ross from Friends but somehow worse. That chick from Twilight. Meredith Grey. Grandpa Joe. Lazy prick stayed glued to the bed until his grandson got the golden ticket. Meanwhile, Charlie's mom is working her tail off supporting the entire family. It was intended to be a wholesome, feel-good moment because poor grandpa finally worked up the energy to get up and spend some time with his grandson on a free trip, but instead it's irritating. Marty and Wendy Bird are total sociopaths. They destroy people's lives everywhere they go. Yet, I find myself rooting for them. The Gilmores. Both are horrible people. Everyone on Big Bang Theory. Ted and the gang in How I Met Your Mother. They're terrible to a lot of people. Edit. Barney literally admits to human trafficking a woman in the Beckett episode and they say he's a good guy 20 seconds later cause he apologized for forgetting a girl's name he slept with. And don't get me started on Ted. Abuela from Encanto. She blamed everything that went wrong on her children and grandchildren. Edit. I realize she isn't the main character, my bad, but she's a main character and gets totally undeserved redemption at the end of the film. That bitch from the Bears that goes in their house and eats all their porridge. Ariel from The Little Mermaid. Listen to your dad, you obstinate little twerp. Severus Snape. He was neo-Nazi incel who wanted the girl to love him despite running with wizarding Hitler who wanted to commit Holocaust on her kind. When he learned that her son is targeted. he begged for her life alone, not her child or husband whom he wished dead anyway. Then he bullied her son for 7 years and the other child whom he indirectly orphaned, and literally every non-Slytherin kid for close to 2 decades. But all should be forgotten because he said always. Piper Chapman. Scott Pilgrim from Scott Pilgrim vs. The World. Has a GF. Decides to pursue Ramona while in the relationship with knives. Gets his friends to cover up for his cheating ass. Expects to walk out of it all smelling like roses. And we're supposed to cheer for this shithead during the fights and hope he wins? Fuck that. ETA for all the not supposed to cheer for him and he's not a good guy comments. His fights are still shown as a death possibility, and we all become curious as to the weakness point of each opponent. But of course after he finds it, they're defeated, and we anticipate the mystery of the next one. Therefore the movie makes us wanting him to win all the time cause death avoidance, and curiosity. Greg Heffley. Anyone from Succession. Amazing show in that everyone is detestable, you don't like any of the characters, you want them all to get punched in the face, but it's unmissable. Eleanor Guthrie from Black Sails. We're supposed to root for her because of the situations she's often in, struggling as an independent woman in a ruthless man's world of the 1700s, but she fucks over her supposed friends and everyone that's ever tried to help her at every opportunity. Then turns around and is shocked, horrified, and plays the victim when they do it back. Classic narcissist. ITT, a shit ton of main characters you're not actually supposed to sympathize with. I think a lot of people will disagree, but Ferris Bueller from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He dragged his friend Cameron around and made him do a bunch of stuff that Cameron didn't want to do while he was sick. The first time I watched the movie I just spent the entire time feeling bad for Cameron. The guy from Downfall. He's a bit of a dickhead. Both the leads in The Notebook are just terrible, terrible people. Wanda Maximoff. This woman was straight torturing an entire town just because her boyfriend died. Then when eventually she realizes that was awful, like 6 months later she goes on a multiversal murder spree. The writers really dropped the ball on her descent into villainy, it's very abrupt and doesn't make much sense. Edit, yeah I know, the Darkhold, blah blah. It's still dumb. It could have been a very interesting story about loss and unlimited power leading to horrible things. Ruby from Max and Ruby. My siblings loved that show and I always hated it, lol. The horrible little Japanese boy who befriends Gamera. Admit it, you wanted that kid to get eaten. Both the mom and the daughter from Gilmore Girls. The daughter acts like the entire world should bow down and worship her genius because for some reason the lunatic asylum she grew up in did. Julia Roberts in My Best Friend's Wedding. She spends the whole movie trying to break up her friend and his fiancée because she realized she's in love with him. Ferris Bueller or Ted Mosby. Gregory House. Worst as in most evil? I would argue Billy Butcher from The Boys. We all get why Homelander needs to fucking die, but Butcher is not any better as a person. He just doesn't have permanent godlike powers, so he's just some asshole. Hannah Horvath, Girls. Honestly, from my latest rewatch, J.D. from Scrubs. He constantly treats everyone around him like shit if they won't bend over backwards for him, and he treats all women as sex objects and nothing more aside from Carla and Elliot. To be honest, he isn't even shown to be that great of a doctor. Initially he is really gifted, but then later he spends most of his time avoiding his patients or getting distracted with shenanigans, whereas Dr. Cox is constantly at patients' sides and actually helps people even when he doesn't like them, literally everyone. Turk goes straight with Carla, so he treats women a lot better throughout the series, and while he does sometimes make objectifying comments, so does everyone else regardless of gender, and he only ever makes the comment, usually apologizing. Because Carla or Elliot will give him a look which makes him regret it. J. D is just consistently a pig, lying to women, using them and never actually showing interest in them as a person. All he wants is someone hot to fuck and praise him constantly. Rose, from Titanic. Rose is the worst. We meet her and she's marrying some toolbag for money, and apparently we're supposed to feel sorry for her? Frances Fisher and her poor little rich girl daughter, granddaughter? I dunno. Might have to work at a job? That doesn't make her a heroine, that makes her Anna Nicole Smith with a nicer hat. She can walk away, even in 1912. Unsurprisingly, the guy she's marrying for money is an asshole, so she tries to kill herself. She can't even do that right, and nearly drags some random kid from third class down under the ship with her who's only trying to help. Then after there's a misunderstanding about the kid's intentions, she spent 90 seconds letting them arrest him and rough him up before pointing out the obvious. Now she carries on an affair with this kid, which I don't feel that bad about because she's just marrying the guy for money and he's a douche, but she doesn't get credit for it either. Boat sinks, she's stupid enough to get off the lifeboat. At that point I'm rooting for her to drown. But no, the random kid she had awkward backseat of a car intercourse with and she's known for a day and a half is worth committing suicide. Plus, after the boat sinks, there was room on the fucking flotsam, she just needed to balance. Or, hear me out on this one, there'd have been lots of room if she hadn't jumped out of the lifeboat in the first place. Fast forward 70 years, because we're not done. Bill Paxton spends his whole life looking for a $500 million diamond that she's got hidden away somewhere. Does she tell him this? Nope. Does she even lie about it, telling him they didn't bring the diamond onto the boat so he doesn't waste his whole life? Nope. Instead she sits there and tells a story while everybody stares at her, the center of attention. And at the end of the movie she throws the diamond overboard. Do you know what would be a better use of a $500 million diamond? Literally anything else. How about you provide for all your kids and grandkids and great-great-great-grandkids' futures forever? How about you donate it to charity? How about you build 20 of the greatest public schools this country has ever seen? Nope. Toss it overboard. Then the absolute worst moment comes after that. She dies. In a stateroom she's filled with pictures of herself, by the way, not any pictures of her loved ones. What kind of a psychopath only has pictures of themselves? And who does she meet in the afterlife? Is it her parents, who loved her and cared for her? Well, at least her father, he didn't sell her to some rich dude. Is it her husband, with whom she spent half a century with, and raised a half-dozen kids with and traveled the world? Nope. It's the homeless kid she fucked and knew for 36 hours. Rose is the worst. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.